2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel. That is Matthew Moreno, and I want to start the show by saying I make zero promises about anything that comes out of my mouth in the next hour because, Matt, what we just witnessed, I mean, there's 1,000 storylines. There's a rookie pitcher making his debut who went 6 no-hit innings. Mookie Betts makes 2 of the worst base running mistakes he's probably ever made. Dave Roberts decides to pinch hit Austin Barnes in the biggest moment. The bullpen is terrible again. I mean, we could literally go 1,000 places. That game was insane. But the bottom line, Matt, the Dodgers lose 7-5 to the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, that was a wild game. It was one of the worst games I've seen them play. It's hard when you have a bullpen that collectively has been struggling for most of the season, and then some of your better options within the struggling bullpen aren't available tonight, and this is kind of what happens. And I know I can see in the comments already fans are very upset. I see implosion, and that's what we used for our recap is the bullpen imploded, and we have a strong group early on tuning in right away, right off the bat. So we thank everybody. I know sometimes we kind of have to build a little bit and we gain followers, but it seems like everybody's here to kind of vent and express frustration. We're, I'm sure we'll get to, I see some questions also. We'll get to those at the end.
Yeah, I see Jose saying Jerry Hairston speaking the truth tonight. I'll be curious to hear his comments afterwards when we're done. There's not a whole lot left to say. They were up 4-0. They got an incredible pitching performance from a rookie. And I was joking with you right before we came on. I mean, the Dodgers had a rookie, a guy who got promoted straight from AA. He threw 6 no-hit scoreless innings. And it might be the 5th or 6th biggest storyline that comes out of this game, the way that it plays out. Absolutely insane. Let's break down kind of how this game actually did play out, how we got to the bottom line. Then we'll get to Sheehan. We'll get to the bullpen. We'll get to everything in time. But this game was scoreless heading into the 5th inning. Bottom of the 5th inning, the Dodgers, 3 straight 2-out hits. They score 4 runs on a Will Smith single, a JD Martinez double, and a James Outman single. And the 3 straight 2-out hits, they go up 4-0. James Outman gets a single. JD Martinez, who had been slumping a bit, gets a double. And all of a sudden they're up 4-0. And you're thinking 3 straight 2-out hits. Sheehan is rolling. Of course, things could not go south from here. And yet they do. Brusdar Graterol, one of the few pitchers you have some degree of confidence in, gives up a 2-run home run to Wilmer Flores. And then the 8th inning, it was just, bizarre. Victor Gonzalez gives up a pair of hits that both were 75 miles an hour off of the bat. Then an error from Will Smith. Victor Gonzalez failing to back up behind the plate. All of a sudden, stuff gets dicey. They're up 1. They're in 2nd and 3rd in the top of the 8th, and they turn to a guy who has an ERA of over 10. That was Taylor Scott. He was dreadful. Sac fly, intentional walk, infield single, 82 miles an hour on that one. Hit by pitch, the strikeout, and the strikeout wasn't a full count with the bases loaded and was generous. So the Dodgers get out of that down just 1. Bottom of the 9th, we get a Miguel Rojas single, an absolutely remarkable steal of second base by him. Mookie Betts singles, Freddie Freeman bloops an RBI single to tie the game. And then Mookie Betts gets thrown out trying to steal third with 1 out. Will Smith walks, JD Martinez strikes out, so we head to extra innings. Caleb Ferguson, top of the 10th, does his job, does a great job of sealing this one. It is worth noting some of the guys in the bullpen actually did their jobs tonight. Not all of them, but some of them did. Bottom of the 10th, they allow JD Martinez to stay in as the pinch runner. I have thoughts on that. James Outman pops up. Miguel Vargas walks. Michael Busch hits a ball 106 miles an hour off the bat, an 890 expected batting average. Giants are positioned perfectly. It gets caught. JD Martinez moves to 3rd. And then with Jason Hayward's spot due up, Dave Roberts fires the last bullet he has. Austin Barnes pinch hits. And what do you know, Matt? A 3-pitch strikeout for Austin Barnes in the biggest moment of the game. We head to the 11th. Alex Vesia, basically the only pitcher the Dodgers have left. He ends up giving up 2 runs, one of those being the ghost runner. And then the Dodgers, in the bottom of the 11th, Rojas grounds out. Mookie Betts pops up to the infield. The ball is dropped. The ball is thrown into right field. And then smartly, Dino Ebel, Michael Busch decide they don't need to get super aggressive on the base paths. Just stay on third base, Michael Busch. Let Mookie Betts stay on second base. We need both of those runs anyways. The problem here, though, was that Mookie Betts wasn't paying any attention. He's 3/4 of the way to third base. He ends up in a rundown. Michael Busch ends up being the guy who gets thrown out. And then Freddie Freeman strikes out to end this one. A disaster, Matt. We could start with Sheehan. We could start with the bullpen. We could start with the decisions from Dave Roberts. My mind, I'm going to admit, is not in a good frame of mind. So I'll turn to you. Where should we start? Is it Emmet Sheehan? Is it the bullpen? Is it the Dave Roberts decisions?
I think we should do, sorry, not to completely cut you off. I think we should do Sheehan. Just, kind of maybe just sort of work our way in order through the game. And I think also, he deserves a ton of recognition for what he did. And obviously his stats sort of speak for themselves. And, Mookie did make a nice diving catch early in the game, I think in the 6th inning, to end the 6th inning. Miguel Rojas made a couple impressive plays. Freddie Freeman made a couple good catches to help him, not allow any hits. But again, I think, he was very much sort of in the Bobby Miller group for me in terms of not looking to, what's the word I'm looking for? He wasn't, my completely lost my train. He wasn't overwhelmed.
Yeah.
He wasn't overwhelmed by the moment of making his MLB debut, obviously. And you don't always see that with young pitchers. Yeah. And so I thought he was really impressive by that. I think, he did benefit from a little bit of a generous strike zone at times throughout, most of the night. And that was working both ways. But yeah, I thought he pitched well. And it's just unfortunate, like some of these comments are saying, like he's going to end up sort of being just a footnote. Not only that, but a footnote in just a bad loss for the Dodgers.
Yeah, there's a crazy stat that 3 guys have gone 6 innings and not allowed a hit in their major league debut. And all 3 of those guys, their team ended up losing, which is an absolutely remarkable stat. But Sheehan, you look at the box score, 6 innings, no hits, no earned. That's all incredible. 2 walks. You'll take that every single day. The 3 strikeouts is the piece that raises my eyebrows a little bit. You dig into the StatCast numbers. He threw 70% fastballs. He allowed just 5 hard hit balls, but only got 4 whiffs. So, Matt, as we stay on Sheehan, and I'm not trying to be negative here because I think the expectations for him were if it was, 5 innings and 3 earned runs, we all would have been pleased and content with that. I'm curious, leaving this one, how sustainable you feel like Sheehan's success is. Like, are you still kind of in wait and see mode? Obviously, we're not overreacting to one start. Like, are you looking at this more and saying, hey, he only got 4 swings and misses all day. That's not really a sustainable recipe for success. Or are you saying, hey, he only allowed 5 hard hit balls, and that's kind of what you're trying to do is limiting hard contact, the fastball averaging 95.5 miles an hour against, by the way, the Giants, I believe, 5th in baseball against the fastball. So not a perfect matchup for a guy like Sheehan. But give me your overall kind of impressions of him and how you feel about him moving forward.
Yeah, the limited amount of swing and miss, there is some concern, but it is also only 1 start, and it's his MLB debut. So I'm not going to put too much stock in that. Now, if he makes 4 or 5 starts, I mean, I don't know if he's going to get that many, but if it does get to that point and it's still kind of the same thing, then, there would be a different discussion. Yeah. I think the fact that he didn't allow a ton of hard contact is certainly encouraging because it would have been a lot worse, if he only has the 3 strikeouts and then is giving up a bunch of hard contact, then it's like, okay, maybe you just got lucky in your start. But yeah, I think it was fine. And, honestly, I personally would, and it's not hindsight 2020. I would have at least let him start the 7th inning. And it's not so much that he had the no hitter as it is understanding who was available and more importantly, who wasn't available out of your bullpen and just trying to, what if he gets 2 quick outs on, 4 pitches all of a sudden? Like, you never know. So it's basically the Dodgers were in a situation tonight where I thought they needed to sort of steal outs. Yeah. And, that being said, with a 4-0 lead, your bullpen, Brusdar Graterol, Victor Gonzalez, Alex Vesia, Caleb Ferguson, they should be able to protect that. So I recognize like it does go both ways, but fact of the matter is looking at the bullpen and how it's performed, basically no lead is safe.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just looking and I was glad I found it. He threw 89 pitches tonight. That was the 2nd highest pitch count that he's had all season. His last start, June 9th, he threw 94 pitches. Note that I said June 9th, so 7 days ago. So I want to press on that a little bit, Matt. You would have put him back out there for the 7th. That, would have been sort of in line. You hope that maybe he gets 1 or 2 outs there, maybe even gets through an inning in like 13 pitches and he's at 102. It's only 8 pitches more. On the flip side, the adrenaline was probably pumping. He was probably throwing a little bit harder than he's used to be throwing in that situation. And yet, as you said, the bullpen was in a tough spot. So in your estimation, even if it's, can you get me 1 more out, 2 more outs, see what happens in that you're up 4-0. There's a little bit of wiggle room. You would have stuck him back out there.
Yeah, and I basically would have just gone, batter by batter. If he gives up, if the leadoff man reaches, you're done. Whether it's a walk, a single, double, whatever the case is, then that's just it. If he gets you one out and then gives up a hit, then he's done at that point. Like I would have just taken it batter by batter to see, because again, I think you need to, as much as Dave Roberts wants to trust his relief pitchers, and I will agree with the standpoint, like I said, that who was available should be able to protect a 4-0 lead over the final, 3 innings.
Yeah.
Fact of the matter is they can't right now. I mean, the bullpen on average, if you tell me, okay, they're turning it over to the bullpen, they need to cover 3 to 4 innings. At this point, I'm expecting them to give up probably 3 runs on average.
Yeah.
It's just the current state of things. And so because of that, I would have, tried to see what else they could possibly get out of Sheehan.
Yeah. Just looking at some quotes. Aaron Blake Williams is at the stadium tonight. Dave Roberts just coming in with this quote. It was a special moment. He'll remember forever. He had a big group supporting him tonight, and he delivered tremendous performance. Did confirm that Emmet Sheehan will make his next start with the Dodgers, which not surprising, by the way. We won't even get to it tonight, but Michael Grove was optioned, a little bit of a surprise move. So the Dodgers only had really 4 pitchers, and they sent one of those guys down. So interesting decision there. Maybe some Julio Urias tea leaves that you could read between there. I don't know. Or some Landon Knack ones to be determined. I'm curious, though. I joked in our text message. Normally we do player of the game. If you had to guess a least valuable player of the game tonight, and I say this because we could take the next piece of this conversation and why the Dodgers ended up losing a bunch of different directions. I think you could make a case for some decisions that Dave Roberts made. And I'm the guy who usually is here defending Dave Roberts and saying it's not all that bad. You could go the route of saying Mookie Betts is the least valuable player, making the 2 worst base running moments that I can remember him making as a Dodger. Especially, he makes them both in the same game and in critical moments at third base. Or is it the bullpen? Where would you go as far as who deserves the most blame for how this one ended up playing out?
Yeah, so really quick before I answer that, Blake had another tweet that Dave Roberts said he contemplated taking Sheehan out after the 5th inning. So I guess, he already getting him through 6, I guess, was already squeezing an extra inning. So that, gives a little bit more insight into why they weren't going to let him even start the 7th. But
your thoughts on that? Your thoughts on that?
I guess
I would have put him back in the 7th.
Yeah, I might need to change the answer that I was going to go with here. But no, I'll still stick with the bullpen. Yeah, as our own Scott is chiming in.
Look at that guy. He's got some curl cream going on there, a little bit of a mustache. He says bullpen only option.
I agree, because the Mookie stuff, as bad as it was, it doesn't happen if the bullpen doesn't allow the game to get to that point. And so that's kind of that's my thought process. And the game should have been over in 9 innings, even if Bruce Gratterall gives up that 2-run home run.
Yeah.
The Dodgers still should have been able to have protected, 4-2 lead. Disrespect to the Giants, but they're not, they're not a powerhouse. They're not, one of these top teams in baseball. I know they're hot right now. They're on, I think, a 5-game winning streak now after tonight, but still, I'm going bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, I put the stat line there on the screen. 5 innings pitched, 8 hits, 6 earned runs, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. Keep in mind, this is the same lineup that a rookie pitcher making his debut held hitless and scoreless for 6 innings. The bullpen comes in, and you pointed it out. Was this a fully rested bullpen? No. But should Brusdar Graterol, Victor Gonzalez, Caleb Ferguson, Alex Vesia, Nick Robertson, Taylor Scott, some combo of those guys be able to get you 9 outs, allowing less than 4 runs? Absolutely. And yet they just couldn't get the job done tonight. You look through the box score. Graterol, the first guy in, I mentioned it. He gives up the 2-run home run. It's 4-2. You're still feeling okay in that situation. Victor Gonzalez, a guy who has been pretty good this season, he comes in, and I'm not making excuses for Guy. I think if anybody got a little bit of a bad rub, it's probably Victor Gonzalez. I mentioned the 2 hits he gave up were 75 miles an hour off the bat. I mean, it was like a shattered bat bloop single into right field, and then the slowest hit ground ball in the history of the world that I'm not, I don't want to blame Miguel Rojas. I don't know how he didn't get there. The ball seemed like it was moving so slowly. And then Taylor Scott comes in and is a complete disaster. And so all those runs end up on Victor Gonzalez's plate because of the error and because of a couple other things. And so it's just one of those situations where Gonzalez doesn't get the job done. And then Taylor Scott comes in. He was terrible. I mentioned that. Nick Robertson comes in, Nick Robertson comes in. Scoreless inning. Good for Nick Robertson. Caleb Ferguson with a runner on second. perfect inning for him. And then Vesia, who, look, ultimately at the end of the day, you put a runner on second base to start. You're not exactly expecting a scoreless inning from all these guys. We know Vesia has struggled. He ends up giving 2 earned runs, so he wasn't very good there. But I mean, look, you just look at that line, and I know they were great last night. If we were doing a live post game last night, we would have talked about like what 1 hit allowed, I believe, in 5 innings or 6 innings or something like that from the bullpen. And then it comes back tonight, and Phillips, their best reliever, not available. Yency Almonte, who struggled, but he had pitched 2 days in a row. Shelby Miller had pitched 2 innings last night. So as soon as it feels like maybe, hey, that was a positive one, a feather in the cap, maybe build a little momentum. 11 innings last night. They come back tonight, go 11 innings again. And, again, I think the most telling summary of the Dodgers bullpen right now, Matt, is that in the 8th inning of a 1-run game with runners on second and third and 1 out, the Dodgers brought in a guy who has an ERA over 10, who none of us had ever heard of before a month ago, in Taylor Scott. And that's the guy the Dodgers turned to, because they looked at Nick Robertson and they looked at Alex Vesia and they said, I don't know why Caleb Ferguson wasn't the answer there, by the way.
I think so. What inning did you say? Sorry.
It was the 8th. I mean, and
8th,
again, I know, hey, we're saving him for the 9th. That's crap.
Right.
You're not going to get to the 9th, second and third with 1 out. Yeah. And Ferguson's been bad, but all this to say, they went to Taylor Scott. That was the guy. They looked at the list of names. We joked about, I laugh about our Blake at the IHOP. The funniest line to me was he looked at the menu and he saw chicken Parmesan and he said, that's what I want. That looks good. I want that. Dave Roberts did that tonight. He looked at the menu and he said, Taylor Scott with runners on second and third in a 1-run game in the 8th inning. That's the guy I want. And you could say that's indicative of Dave. You could say that's indicative of the bullpen, but I would lean more that's indicative of the bullpen and just the awful options that he is staring down.
Yeah, I think that's close to a 50-50 split for me. Limited options, certainly. And, it's not making an easy decision. I think I probably would have gone Nick Roberts. If you're trying to say Ferguson and Vesia, my guess is the order that ended up going in, Vesia was basically going to be obviously we need 2 or 3 innings just to kind of fit, just buy us some time. So you don't want to use him yet. So, holding him. Ferguson, they're obviously holding for a save situation.
Which is stupid. I mean, I don't want to move past. If that's true, that's ridiculous. Because you're never going to get to a save situation when Taylor Scott is coming in with runners on second and third. You're expecting Taylor Scott to come in and get a strikeout?
Yeah. I think for me, I would have gone Nick Robertson in that situation.
Whose ERA is 9, I believe. So,
right. But at least, he's a younger, kind of prospect type thing. Maybe, there's a little bit of upside.
He got a strikeout. He had a scoreless inning today to his credit.
That's who I would have leaned towards. And, I think really now is it the time to have this conversation. I know, fans have been rabid about it for several years, but fact of the matter is Dave Roberts has never been regarded as a great in-game tactician, right? Not breaking any news here. I'm not breaking any news here.
We haven't even gotten to the worst decision he made all night.
So he's been fortunate to be equipped with very talented teams. And this year, that's not the case, both because of injuries, both because of just roster construction and decisions and just how careers sort of unfolded and panned out. And so when you give him, a less talented team compared to other years past, and then a team that is then underperforming on top of that, these are the situations you find yourself in.
Yeah, I see people saying Evan Phillips is the option. He pitched 2 innings yesterday. He wasn't available today. Yency Almonte, not available. Shelby Miller, not available. Those 3 guys.
The Shelby Miller one, I wonder if that situation was more of not available or they just didn't want to use, because I feel like he is a little bit of a multi-inning relief pitcher. And I'd have to look at how many pitches he threw last night to get a full, true gauge. But yeah, it was evident that they weren't going to use him. And the only thing is I just wonder, that could be your plan. But eventually, once you get into the 9th, 10th inning and you've already blown the lead, you need to kind of maybe adjust.
Yeah.
But as we'll get to with, some of the platoon stuff, the Dodgers, they stick to their approach, and that's kind of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Dave Roberts.
Is that the segue you were looking for?
I'm mentally preparing myself. It is. Dave Roberts did say that they will be adding a relief pitcher to the roster tomorrow. Taylor Scott, DFA. How do you keep that guy around?
Well, yeah. I guess it depends. I don't know. Does he have options?
I doubt it. I mean, I'm not really too concerned about Taylor Scott and his options. If
But
I'm being
like
honest here, Matt.
if he does, they're not going to DFA him. I mean, and I'll take partly blame for this. Nobody's asked Dave Roberts about Phil Bickford recently. I wonder if he's going to be. Although I don't know
Taylor
if
Scott, it does say he has one option according to Fangraph.
so I feel like they'll do that, and I know maybe some people out there might want Vesia DFA'd as well. Like that's not going to happen. They have options. Like they don't just cut guys unless they absolutely have to.
Yeah.
So Bickford was put on the IL on the 3rd. So
Not available tomorrow.
not ready yet. Yeah.
Good times. Good times. Yeah. I mean, Kolarek, some people in the comments saying Kolarek could be a guy that comes up.
He was DFA'd.
Oh, Kolarek. Okay, so he's not with. Got it. So there you go. So answer.
So he's got to go through the waivers process, which once that happens, and then
how does
maybe
Kolarek get DFA'd before Taylor Scott? 40-man roster spot for Emmet Sheehan?
That I think basically is what ended up happening. Obviously, at the time they DFA'd Kolarek, they didn't say like it's because of this, but yeah, it conveniently opened up a 40-man roster spot. And Sheehan told Blake and the other reporters tonight that he heard about his call up Wednesday. So the Dodgers already kind of had this in the plans.
Okay, well, let's talk Dave Roberts. He made two decisions in the bottom of the 10th inning, Matt, that I have no explanation for. The first was because of the ghost runner rule. The ghost runner. So, well, let's rewind. We're going to get to Mookie Betts. And you know what? Let's do Mookie Betts first, because I think Mookie Betts kind of leads into some of this. Bottom of the 9th inning, I tweeted, the Dodgers have just given up the lead. They're now down 1. And I tweeted, hey, as soon as the Dodgers make a miraculous comeback, Matt and I will be live on the postgame show. Rojas singles, steals second base. I want to pause. We cannot miss this moment. That was an incredible play. I have crapped on Miguel Rojas all season. He has 3 straight games with 2 hits. I hope the offense figures it out. The decision to steal second base by Miguel Rojas on the first pitch against Doval was absolutely freaking brilliant. Freaking brilliant. And set the Dodgers up to be successful in that inning. So for all the crap that happened, and as bad as Mookie Betts base running is, like, we need to give Rojas his flowers because that was incredible. So he steals second base. Mookie singles through the left side, little ground ball, seeing eye single, so Rojas can't score. So it's 1st and 3rd. Freddie Freeman, I joked about Victor Gonzalez getting crappy luck. The Dodgers got it right back. Freddie Freeman, bloop single, like 82 mile an hour, bloop single, scores Rojas. Dodgers have runners at 1st and 2nd with 1 out at this point. Mookie Betts, with runners at 1st and 2nd, there's 1 out. They need 1 run to win the game, and it's a walk-off. And you have Will Smith due up, and you have JD Martinez due up after him. And Mookie Betts tries to steal 3rd. I'll say this. It was a perfect throw. It was a perfect tag. And he was out by this much. None of that matters. Dave Roberts, by the way, if you want to just crap on this guy some more tonight, Dave Roberts did not call for Mookie Betts to steal 3rd, but said it was a smart play that just didn't work out. You know what, Matt? Help me understand how that's a smart play. All you need is single and you have Mookie Betts, because what ends up happening is he gets thrown out. And now if he's successful, a sac fly wins you the game. That's the upside. The downside is now you have 2 outs, and instead of Mookie Betts standing at second base, needing to score on a single, it's Freddie Freeman standing at second base, needing to score on a single. There's a massive gap in speed between those 2 guys. And you have Will Smith and JD Martinez. So like Smith ends up walking, Martinez gets a hit, but you're taking the bat out of potentially one of those 2 guys. I don't see how this is smart at all. I understand the upside of the sac fly thing, but you have got to be absolutely sure. And he couldn't have been. He ends up getting thrown out.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could see is, I guess Dave is going to look at it from the standpoint of, like you said, it took, basically a near perfect throw and perfect tag to get the out. And so sometimes that happens, as Mookie likes to say, the other team, they drive Benzes too. I agree with you. That's not worth the risk to me. Not where the Dodgers are at that point of the lineup. If it's a completely different spot,
yeah, if it's Will Smith due up, and then you've got like Johnny DeLuca and Austin Barnes, and you're like, well, we're just going to give our one guy a chance to hit a sac fly. I mean, even in that case, they probably intentionally walk Will Smith. So, I mean, there's a whole lot of scenarios where it doesn't make a whole ton of sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't get it. But I mean, honestly, it's not even the worst one, that worst mistake
Yeah.
that Mookie had tonight.
To that point, the bottom of the 11th, the Dodgers are down 7-5. You've got a runner on second base to start, Michael Busch. Mookie Betts pops up. A ball that lands between the catcher, pitcher, and third baseman. You draw a triangle between those three people. It drops right in the middle of it. And not only does it drop, and it looks like the Dodgers are going to have two runners on, the pitcher picks up the ball and throws the ball 50 feet above the first baseman's head, to the point that I thought it hit the netting, which apparently it didn't, because if it hit the netting, it would have been a dead ball, but that didn't happen. So the ball rolls around into right field, and all this is happening, and you're not really getting a look at like what's happening on the bases. And then just to make matters worse, to the fact that a Major League Baseball player just dropped a fly ball, and then a different Major League Baseball player threw the ball 50 feet above the first baseman. Well, then a third Major League Baseball player by the name of Mookie Betts decided to pay zero attention to what was going on in the field around him, because as Michael Busch is rounding third, he gets held because Dino Ebel's thinking to himself, even if there's a 10% chance that Busch gets thrown out at home, it's not worth it. We need 2 runs. Put Mookie on second, Busch on third. We'll take our chances from here on out. So he holds Busch. Busch is heading back to third safely, until you realize that Mookie Betts is 3/4 of the way to third base. The ball is now in the infield, and everything is a disaster. Mookie gets caught in a rundown. Michael Busch then gets caught in a rundown. Mookie Betts ends up in third. Michael Busch ends up getting tagged out. And instead of having the game-tying run at second base with 1 out, you now have a runner at third with 2 outs, down by 2 runs. I have no words or explanations for either of these two things. It was a total brain fart. It was a total mistake. He was paying no attention. It's inexcusable by Mookie Betts.
Yeah, I'm inclined, and he owned it tonight. Blake, if you guys follow Blake, he tweeted, Mookie said it was just a mistake and, bad read by him and a bad play. I'm personally inclined to believe that, he's human. We all are. Maybe he felt basically some pressure to make a play, make a spectacular, because of how things have been going. And I think he might have also assumed that Busch was somehow going to score, which that's tough. I need to see. I didn't get a chance just because everything was happening so quickly. The game was ending, and so we were having to get the recap out and get ready for the show. So I didn't get a chance to see the different angles. I feel like maybe Busch should have read it a little bit better, because if the third baseman was crashing in and the pitcher and catcher were there, I want to know where the shortstop was.
Yeah.
Because if you're Busch, theoretically, you could get not halfway down the line, but creep a little bit, basically like a secondary lead. And as soon as that drops, you get to third base, and then as soon as it is thrown into right field, then what are you doing at that point? So, but yes, I think the bigger onus is on Mookie. You can't just put your head down and run you're the only one out there. You hit a ball, down the line, and now you're trying to stretch a double into a triple because you want to make a play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just all around bad. I mean,
yeah. And and I think this comment is perfect from BMR. It doesn't matter if Busch was going to score, because Mookie needs to pay attention. That's the bottom line. I mean, we could sit here and argue, should Busch have tried to score? It's not on Busch. You could blame Dino Ebel. Should he have not put up the stop sign? Again, we just talked about a situation with Mookie Betts, where even if there's a 10% chance of it going wrong, you shouldn't take the chance, because the upside doesn't outweigh the downside. That's what we're talking about here. Even if there was a 90% chance that Busch scores and Mookie's standing on third, I'm not taking my chances with that, because the 10% chance he gets thrown out is not worth the upside. The downside, I guess, is that you kind of assumed Mookie Betts would be paying attention. And as he said, he looked up and, quote, just saw a whole bunch of white and didn't really know what was going on. And so ends up costing them there. But let's talk about the last one. This is the Dave Roberts decision, the one that just about broke my brain. If you're following us on Twitter, then we will get to some questions from the chat, I promise. But it's the bottom of the 10th. And there's 2 decisions Dave Roberts makes in this situation that blow my mind. JD Martinez is the designated runner. Caleb Ferguson has just pitched a perfect top of the 10th. So all the Dodgers need to do is move a runner from second to home in the course of 3 outs in order to score, in order to win. The first thing he does, Matt, is he lets JD Martinez stay in as the runner. I haven't sprinted in a long time. I feel like there's a decent chance, Matt, that I'm faster than JD Martinez. We could look up his Baseball Savant page here. Do you want to guess what percentile he is for sprint speed?
5. Eight.
24th percentile. That feels
Okay.
generous. That feels generous. I can't believe that he got left in. Austin Barnes available on the bench. I know that what position everybody's going to play would have been a disaster. With the bullpen, the state that it was in, from my estimation, you put all your chips on the table. You say, Austin Barnes, you're going to run at second. We need more speed. Hell, put a pitcher at second base. I really don't care. Like, somebody needs to be running other than JD Martinez. That was the first decision that he made. Now, it ends up not mattering, to Dave Roberts' credit. Maybe I'm wrong on this, because who was at second base ends up not mattering because of how things play out from there. Maybe Dave Roberts made a second bad decision to cover up for his first bad decision. How about that thinking, Moreno? James Outman pops up. Miguel Vargas, intentional walk. I mentioned this. Michael Busch, 106-mile-an-hour laser to right center field. 890 expected batting average is caught. JD Martinez moves to third on that play. Jason Hayward is due up. Jason Hayward is 0 for 8 against left-handed pitching this season. Jason Hayward, for his career, is not a very good hitter against left-handed pitching. Jason Hayward, on the whole this year, has been one of the Dodgers' 5 or 6 best hitters in the lineup. I believe he came into this game as a pinch hitter. Yeah, he did. So he'd had one at bat. He came in to pinch hit for Johnny DeLuca, I believe maybe in the 9th inning or the 8th inning. They pinch hit Austin Barnes for Jason Hayward. Austin Barnes has a 111 batting average, Matt. His OPS just recently creeped above 300. Let me repeat. His OPS, not his on-base percentage, not even his slugging percentage. The number where you add the on-base to the slugging just creeped to get ahead of 300. Well, you might say, well, it's against a lefty, though. Platoon splits. Austin Barnes this season, 1 for 24 against lefties. He was hitting 0.46 coming into the game against left-handed pitchers. Matt, I don't care how bad Jason Hayward has been this year. He's 0 for 8 against lefties. I don't care how bad Jason Hayward has been in his career. He's hitting like 230, I think, in his career against lefties. I actually pretty much don't care about anything. Austin Barnes should never be pinch hitting for anybody except a pitcher. And then maybe he should be pinch hitting for pitchers. Pitchers hit better than Austin Barnes is hitting. I don't care about any of the platoon splits. He's awful. He's a terrible hitter. He is arguably the worst hitter in Major League Baseball, Austin Barnes. And in the biggest spot with a chance to win the game, Jason Hayward, clubhouse leader, great guy, Dave Roberts, favorite player, one of the best hitters on the team, gets taken out of the game. Now, it is indefensible to me. Indefensible.
Yeah, I think the problem here is it's almost two separate arguments. There's a ton of nuance because to me,
there's no nuance. We could do nuance. There's none. Literally none. He's terrible.
There is, from the standpoint of the Dodgers have their approach kind of across the board and they stick to it. Now, it's how they operate. Now, is that right or wrong? That's a different question. And I see people. I'm not defending it because
I joked. He unplugged the computer. Whatever the approach is, he unplugged the approach because he wanted to get Barnes in. Like, there's no computer in the world. There are no analytics in the world. There are no platoon splits in the world that are going to tell you that's the right decision.
It's not the decision. It's not the decision I would have made. But then, like I brought up, if you look at some of the career stuff, Barnes is better against left-handed hitters than Hayward is.
I appreciate you so much for saying this out loud. I'm so proud of you for taking this.
My point is, again, like, the Dodgers have their approach and they stick to it. This isn't the first time Hayward, Peralta, even Outman, when he was hitting well, that they pulled him because it was a left-hander on the mound. Like, it's their approach. It's what they do. And so that's why, to me, like, was it what I would have done? No. Was it the right decision? I think you could argue no. But again, it's how the Dodgers are approaching things. And so because of that, like, when as it was happening, like, I was sort of numb to it because, yeah, like, this is just what they do. It's how they approach things with platoons.
Yeah. Over the last 3 seasons, including this year, Austin Barnes is hitting 172 against lefties. That's 2021, 2022, and 2023. He was 14 for 73 in 2021. He was 12 for 66. He was 14 for 66, 12 for 66, and this year coming in, he was 1 for 23. again, I like we could look at he hit 257 in 2017. He hit 246 in 2018. Like those are the two biggest at bat numbers he has in his career. I don't think those are relevant to who Austin Barnes is because he hasn't been that player in a long, long time. And I mean, we could look, I'm Jason Hayward. We could look up what his splits are against lefties. Jason Hayward has been terrible against everybody for a few years now. He has found something with the Dodgers that makes him a different player. But even if you go back to Jason Hayward, he was 16 for 68 in 2021. That was better than Austin Barnes. Last year, he was 5. He just had 23 plate appearances. He was 5 for 23. That was better than Austin Barnes. He's had 8 at bats against lefties this year. If this isn't number 9, I don't know like where number 9 is coming from. Like I joked that I would rather have a pitcher up than Austin Barnes, but I mean, we could look up Clayton Kershaw's hitting stats and like, are we positive his OPS was below 300 the last time they let him hit? I'm not saying they would actually let him hit. I'm mostly joking here. To me, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like, I just don't understand what the approach is here. But by the way, the last time Clayton Kershaw hit 2021, he had an OPS of 465.
But see, so that's where, like you saying, like you don't necessarily understand the approach. Like they've telegraphed their approach every step of the way, and so that's why, like, it's not decisions I agree with. This isn't the first one that I agree or disagree with.
Yeah.
But fact of the matter is, like, it's who the Dodgers are. It's how they go about things. It's, it's the same reason they take pitchers out and leave some pitchers in at different times. Like they have their approaches and their decisions, if you will, and it's just what they're planning, and it's just what they stick to.
Clayton Kershaw in his career, 390 OPS. So that's, in case you're wondering, that's 80 points higher than Austin Barnes' OPS this year. So I mean, we could pretend like it's a joke that Clayton Kershaw might be a better hitter than Austin Barnes, but that is in 847 plate appearances from Clayton Kershaw. So, but I don't know, man, lefty against lefty, maybe they don't like the platoon splits there. I hear what you're saying. And I just refuse to believe that they are so committed to like Jason Hayward's not a hit against lefties that they would say, like, they have this idea in their mind that Austin Barnes is a position player, and they almost need to mentally start treating it like Clayton Kershaw is over on the end of the bat. That's the other, because he's worse than Clayton Kershaw. Like, he is worse than Clayton career. He is dramatically worse than Clayton Kershaw right now this season. And against lefties, like, we could say whatever. He's 1 for 24. Like when Trace Thompson was 1 for 30. If I had said to you, well, last year, do you know what his OPS was? You'd say, yeah, that's really great. Have you seen the 30 at bats? Because then Austin Barnes came up, Matt, and you know what he did? He proved every single one of us right. 3-pitch strikeout. And I loved it. Like the one pitch he swung at was a pitch that he was so freaking early on that Joe Davis was laughing because he sent it to the upper deck. It might not have even, I mean, may have been even to third base, but then he just watches strike 1 and watches strike 3, and it's a wrap. So I need to leave that one alone. I know what you're saying, and I'm not like disagreeing with the Dodgers are committed to a process of saying, hey, we like platoons. We know who's good against who, and we're just going to take our chances. I just think sometimes they can look at Jason Hayward and say, oh, Jason Hayward can't hit lefties. It's like, yes, that's half of the equation. The other half needs to be who is the alternative? Because if the alternative is Austin Barnes, they need to like check themselves and be like, yeah, I know he can't hit lefties, but holy crap, this guy can't hit anybody. I said it. Austin Barnes hitting 111. Jason Hayward at no point in his career has been worse against lefties than 111. Austin Barnes this year is worse against lefties than he is overall. Like, it's not even like he's better against lefties. He's worse against lefties than he is against righties this season. So platoon splits, I get it. I just think sometimes you need to, like, the irony is the decision to put Austin Barnes in is like a gut instinct. Like it's like an eye test thing. Like, oh, Barnes our guy. He's clutch. He's gritty, blah, blah, blah. When it's like, no, the eye test is telling you he's terrible. Stop looking at 2017 numbers, Dave. Stop thinking about the hit he had in 2020. He's been terrible for a long time. So anyways, I need to stop myself on that one. Let's do some injury stuff because that's important. And let's get to some questions. Mark is right. I need a strong drink. Right now it's just iced tea because it's been a long day that got longer and longer. And we logged on at 10:45 and I was like, midnight, baby, here we come. It's a mess. Okay, let's talk injuries because I can't believe we talked for 41 minutes and are now just getting to the point of saying, oh, by the way, 2 of the starting 8 position players for the Dodgers left with injuries. David Peralta, Chris Taylor, both injured. I know Blake, our guy, is there. I believe I saw an update on Peralta. I'm not sure if I saw an update on Chris Taylor, but one of them was
Taylor one is easier. I have that one off. He's going to get an MRI tomorrow.
Okay.
So nothing yet other than like the only report is that he came out tonight because of right knee pain. But, you know, MRI, like I think there's ligament concern there would be my guess.
Yeah.
David Peralta has
upper hamstring, lower glute, undergo testing.
Yeah. Both are going to be out of the lineup. It's no surprise on Saturday. I would imagine that, I mean, at least Peralta ends up on the IL right away. I mean, David's saying Peralta should be fine, but it's like a hamstring and a glute. It's like they've already said it's a hamstring strain. So, like, you know, that's at least missing some time.
The irony is you're looking down this list and you're saying that both those guys got hurt. Michael Busch is already up. Mm-hmm. So you need to find 2 more guys besides Michael Busch. I mean, Yanni Hernandez is on the 40-man. They're going to run out of 40-man roster spots here pretty soon because Sheehan's coming. We know Landon Knack is coming soon. I mean, that train is already headed to the station. That's only one. Yanni's one. Like, I always forget Vivas and Leonard. I believe it's Leonard who has started to hit a little bit, but I think he's in Double-A. So I can't imagine that he's really an option.
You know what's
he's in Double-A.
You know what's looking all the more curious now, and obviously it's easy for us to sit here and say it hindsight 2020. Yeah, the Luke Williams thing. Like, I mean, unless he had but even if he had like some sort of, you know, those minor league deals, they have opt-out dates, right? And so if he had one coming and the Dodgers decided to trade him because he was going to opt out since they didn't have room for him, then fine. But I mean, it was just a straight waiver claim. Like all you did was end up freeing up a spot on your 40-man roster, but
which I guess they sort of needed eventually.
I guess.
But it feels like, or they just said, hey, we could just go find out replacement. I mean, they do have guys at AAA who just aren't on the 40-man roster. I should make that clear. I see some people chatting about, you know, Devin Mann being an option. So the Ryan Ward, they've got guys like that at AAA who could probably come up and do a little, but none of those guys are on the 40-man roster. And again, you start adding all these pitchers, and once they're like Sheehan got added today. He can't get removed. Like he's stuck on the 40-man roster now for the next 5 or 6 years. In theory, they could have tried to, they shouldn't have, but they could have waited a year because Knack needs to be added to the 40-man at the end. So the 40-man roster is going to be a mess. I mean, they're up to like 15 guys.
And you also like Daniel Hudson, sorry not to cut you off. Daniel Hudson, like Dave Roberts said the other day, you know, in an ideal world, he's back by the end of the month. So in 2 weeks, you're looking at needing to free up a spot for him to come back from the 60-day injured list. Then obviously some of the other guys are a little bit further out, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and at the end of the season, like if you add a Devin Mann, for example, you add him to the 40-man. Well, at the end of the year, all the guys who are on the 60-day IL, Walker Buehler, JP Fireeyes, and Daniel Hudson, Dustin May, Pepio, Alex Reyes, who's probably gone, Blake Trinan, Gavin Lux, all those guys are on the 60-day IL. Those guys, like at the end of the season, need to come back onto the 40-man roster. So like every guy you add to the 40-man roster is basically someone you're going to have to cut at the end of the season. Now you're in the middle of the year and you need dudes. So it's time to start adding guys somewhere, but it just gives you the precarious situation that the Dodgers find themselves in.
I have the solution for you. At least right now, one of them. It's Syndergaard to the 60. Right? I mean,
I mean, or
like
just
what
DFA.
What are the odds?
or just DFA.
Or just straight DFA.
Yeah, because Trace is already on the 60, so his 40-man spot is already has already been lost.
I mean, they do. I guess we don't know what's happening with Bickford. He's technically on the 15-day, but if they want to do that, then maybe he's a candidate on the 60. He hasn't started a rehab assignment or anything yet.
And look, there's relievers that could be cut tomorrow, and none of us would miss them. You know, like I mean, Ricky Vanasco is on the 40-man roster. I mentioned some of the guys we saw tonight. Taylor Scott, you know, he would not be missed. Syndergaard is on the 40-man roster. There's lots of guys like that, you know, even Bickford, who I think is a little bit more borderline, but there's ways to just DFA all of them. Michael says, I mean, they might have to. So just something to monitor. Even, Rojas, when he scored the game tying run, it looked like he had hurt his hamstring, and then it turned out to be his hand. Then he stayed in the game.
That was so weird.
Thankfully that ended up working out. But all right, let's get to some questions. There's a lot to get to here, and I don't know. It was just a whirlwind of a game. It was one of those crazy ones. I mean, again, we waited 45 minutes to tell you that David Peralta and Chris Taylor are both hurt. And would you be surprised if both of them didn't end up on the IL in the next 4 days? I mean, the way those injuries sound to me, if both guys are going in for scans, that doesn't feel like back in a couple of days, especially on a day when Max Muncy gets put on the IL. Yeah. So, they don't have. They can't afford, I'll put it this way. They can't afford for Chris Taylor to just be unavailable for 4 days and not on the injured list.
Probably not, but it wouldn't surprise me if they at least try it, if they think maybe, because again, part of that is just the 40-man, the roster crunch, unless they want to bring up one of the younger guys from OKC. In addition, I assume Yanni is probably going to be coming up. But yeah, I don't
Blake's guy. I want to say Blake's guy, but Blake has actually privately disowned his guy, Yanni. So I mean, publicly, who knows what's going to happen? But he's privately he has been off the Yanni train. So I hate to break that news to Yanni Hernandez and his family, but I'm not sure who's driving the Yanni bandwagon anymore. I think it might be an unoccupied vehicle at the moment. Okay, remember, if you do get some questions in there, throw it all caps questions. That's just a super big help to us. I saw okay, here we go. Thunderpants asks, how long will Max be out? So it was retroactive to what, Tuesday?
So he's eligible to come back Friday, a week from tonight. So for the start of the Astros series, my sense is he probably will be. I mean, I know the initial report from Dave Roberts was that it was a grade 2 hamstring strain, and that ended up not being the case. Muncy has said it's minor. His biggest issue was just with running. And so he tried running today before the game. It just wasn't good enough. And so rather than, continue to play with a short bench and all that, they put him on the IL, maximized the time you could backdate it. And so, yeah, hopefully he'll be back a week from tonight.
They needed the spot. They needed the extra bench spot today. I mean, Austin Barnes would have been in there who knows when, even sooner. THP, think Bobby pitches deep. Feels like unless he goes 8, this game is going to get blown by the pen. I mean, somebody had it. The other piece here is, some of the guys like Yency Almonte. I believe the Dodgers have 4 players that have pitched in 4 of the last 6 games in their bullpen. So there will be one fresh reliever, but it's, whoever the 10th best option is they have out there. If somebody goes on the injured list, I believe you can recall someone, but that would require a pitcher going on the injured list. So there's no guarantee that happens.
Well, Taylor Scott may have hurt his shoulder tonight or something.
Yeah, I think he did.
One of his pitches.
I saw him. Yeah, I saw him grabbing it. I can't remember if it was left or right, but it was definitely a shoulder. That's what he was grabbing at. Yeah, I mean, look, Bobby Miller has gone 6+ in every one of his starts so far this year.
I believe so.
Emmet Sheehan was efficient tonight, and so they're going to need it. I mean, Evan Phillips in theory is available, although he threw 2 innings, so he'll be available, but not to go multiple innings again. Shelby Miller, you would assume, is available. Caleb Ferguson may be available. Bruzdar probably available. Most of the guys should be quote unquote available.
Well, Ferguson, I would rule. He's done back to back, so he won't. They won't have him pitch a 3rd game. But yeah, I mean, Phillips.
Did Adderall pitch last night? I can't even remember at this point. It was like 100 innings ago.
I think he might have, or he at least warmed up. I don't know if Phillips will be available tomorrow, just because his last appearance was 2 innings, and so I feel like they'll want to give him 2 days off.
Yeah. 27 pitches for Phillips. Gratterall did not pitch. It was just Miller, Almonte, Phillips, and then, as you pointed out, it was Caleb Ferguson. So
Gratterall will be available. Maybe Shelby Miller is available.
I would think if you need him, Evan Phillips is available for an inning. I mean, I know his 2 innings, 27 pitches is not crazy town.
I think he would be, but I think their preference may be to stay away from him.
Yeah, I think we've avoided what's your preference here, Dave scenario. Jacob wants to know, what's a trade that can be made immediately? I mean, look, there's probably, if we're talking about who's a guy that could come sit on the bench for a couple of weeks, I mean, it's possible there's some veteran floating around out there that could, it's not going to be a difference-making trade, I guess is the best way to answer this one, right?
Yeah, not right now. I mean, honestly, they may be more likely to look at guys who are free agents or players who have been recently designated for assignment that,
Yeah.
it's stuff like that. You're not going to necessarily find anything of real value. Not yet.
Yeah. David asks, still too early to worry, Jeff? I don't think so. I'll throw it to you first. I know it's directed at me. Are you worrying about the Dodgers now?
I mean, I have been since before the season started, and then they started to convince me a little bit with their hot stretch. And like I said, I think on our Sunday show, my biggest concern at this point now is just the injury, and it's gotten even worse since then. The injuries are just piling up, and so on top of your multiple relief pitchers underperforming, not meeting expectations. Now you have guys, position players getting hurt. Rotation is in shambles, I think it's fair to say. So I'm definitely worried about kind of the trajectory of the team. And, the trade deadline is great, but the way the Dodgers look now, like, I don't know if they're going to be able to address enough of their holes at the trade deadline to really make a big enough impact.
Yeah. I'm still not worried from the perspective
at all. Not worried at all.
From this perspective, I think what matters for this team is where are they going to be 2.5, 3 months from now. I still think this team has all of the pieces required to be elite when they need to be elite. Now, is it possible they're going to make it way more difficult to themselves and they're actually going to lose the division and they're going to end up in a wild card series? And would I be worried about that? Absolutely. I just look at the lineup. I still think the lineup is good enough. I look at the rotation and I know we're like, who's the fifth starter now? But I'm looking and saying Kershaw, Gonsolin, Bobby Miller, Julio when he comes back. That's 4 guys that I feel pretty good about. Do we get anything from Dustin May? I'm pessimistic. Do we get anything from Walker Buehler? I'm way more pessimistic. Could Emmet Sheehan be decent? Could Landon Knack be decent? Like, I just think there's enough poker chips, lottery tickets in there that I'll say in a 5-game, 7-game series, I think they could piece it together. The bullpen admittedly is the piece that worries me the most. Obviously, how could it not? I still think Evan Phillips is like an elite reliever. So they have one of the best relief pitchers in baseball, which is a good thing. I tend to believe that Caleb Ferguson had a blip in the radar and the real Caleb Ferguson is actually very good. And then I'm just like, they've got lottery tickets coming back from the injured list. Do they get anything from Fireisen? Do they get anything from Trinan? Do they get anything from Daniel Hudson? If the answer is no, I think you can go out and find some solutions to the bullpen. People in the comments are joking. Just call up the entire AA rotation to be in the bullpen. It's not wrong. Like if you told me the bullpen in the playoffs was, Evan Phillips, let's say Daniel Hudson, Shelby Miller, Brusdar Gratterall, who's the guy? Caleb Ferguson, and then Emmet Sheehan and Michael Grove, and those 7 are like the, I guess you would need 8, and Landon Knack. Like those 8 are the Nick Nastrini, like whoever, those 8 are the guys in the bullpen. Sure. Like if Michael Grove is coming in, to face righties and to throw 98 miles an hour, like he could be effective there. Sheehan could throw 99. Like, I just think I'm not trying to be like bury your head in the sand, naive guy. I just think it can be so easy after a night like tonight, after a week of baseball, like we have seen, to just say, oh my gosh, the world is ending. The sky is falling. And it's definitely not pretty right now. I just genuinely still think they have all the pieces. And I just continue. The track record is they will figure it out. That's what history tells us. You were joking. I was joking with you. You looked at the 10-year sample size of Austin Barnes and said his weighted runs created plus against lefties is better than Jason Hayward. The difference here is the 10-year track record says they're going to figure it out. The 3-year track record says they're going to figure it out. The 1-year track record says they're going to figure it out. I just think the pieces are there. Things can fall into place. I think they'll go on a run. And I think they're going to be really, really good when they need to be. Sorry for rambling.
No, that's fine. I don't think you rambled at all. And that's all reasonable stances and opinions. Again, for me personally, where I just, and I've said this before, I said this last year, the past 2, like when I wanted them to trade first, I've seen too many things go wrong. And this is even like me expecting things to go wrong. And this is a lot, even like with that kind of mindset.
Yeah.
And so again, like my concern is are enough things going to kind of click back into place for them? I do agree. Ferguson is going through a bad stretch right now. He was really good to start the season. Nobody was necessarily talking about him because he was just doing his job, right? Like
Yeah.
he's in a bad stretch right now. So I think, he could potentially get back on track. I don't know if enough relief pitchers will end up doing that. Maybe like you said, maybe Daniel Hudson. Obviously, we'll get an answer soon on Hudson if he is back. Around the All-Star, either before the All-Star break or right after it. And you'll kind of see what you have in him. But again, like Hudson, my guess is that he'll probably be kind of the primary closer once he's back, which is great. But if Vesia, Almonte, Gratterall are blowing leads still, it's not going to matter if you have Daniel Hudson waiting there in the ninth inning.
Yeah. I see some people saying, hey, they're not going to win the division. It's worth pointing out right now, I believe you could go bet the Diamondbacks to win the NL West at plus 500. So,
I mean, I don't think, division race and stuff like that. Like, I don't think that that's been decided by any means. And I know fans are frustrated with, not just tonight, but kind of, really the homestand. I mean, they, and the road trip, if you want to go back a little bit further. But yeah, I don't, it'll be interesting. Again, my biggest concerns are the Dodgers going to be are enough things going to go right that the majority of their kind of holes in the roster get answered? And I don't know if that's the case. And I'm not saying that they're not like a playoff team by any means. And I do 100% agree with you that, half the bet like this, it would be kind of fitting if this is the year that, they struggle through the season. They're a wild card team and somehow they end up winning the World Series with a roster that sort of looks a little flawed and underperformed most of the year.
Yeah.
Just because that's kind of how baseball can be.
Look, if you're worried, go make yourself some money. I mean, the Dodgers are minus 230 to win the NL West. I'm not joking. The Diamondback, I just looked it up because I was like, man, that can't possibly be right? Like that can't possibly be the accurate for, like the Diamondbacks are in first place by like 4 or 5 games. They won again tonight. Like that can't possibly. I just looked it up. Dodgers are minus 230. And the Diamondbacks are plus 500 to win the NL West. So, do what you want with that information. Padres are plus 700. Giants are plus 900. So if you're convinced the Dodgers aren't going to win, just go throw $10 on the Diamondbacks, $10 on the Padres. And, worst case scenario, you just got 4-1 on your money, 6-1 if the Padres end up winning. So crazy town. I mean, and again, like Vegas tends to be better about not overreacting and getting emotional than folks like me. So don't take it from me. What does Vegas know that the rest of us doesn't? I mean, who knows? That's a great question.
That's the $1 million question.
Something. So here you go. Yeah, God Jupiter says Jeff is smoking something. No way would Dodgers win the division. Hey, go make yourself a bunch of money and bet on somebody else to win the division because Vegas is handing it to you. Jonathan, can the Dodgers sell enough pieces to get under the luxury tax and reset? The answer is, I mean, technically yes, but practically
I don't think.
no.
Yeah, I don't think the way that
tank.
The way that becomes yes is all the stars that fans enjoy watching are no longer on the team. So basically, no.
Yeah, Jason asks, with a pen that doesn't resemble a contender, injured starters 1 through 9 with holes, do you ever see this team selling at the deadline? 0% chance.
Yeah, no, I don't see them selling.
I mean, Kershaw, I'll say this, not if Kershaw gets hurt, if Mookie Betts gets hurt, if Freddie Freeman gets hurt, and if Will Smith get hurt, if all 4 of those guys are out for the season, then maybe. Short of that, I would say no chance.
Hey, be careful. At the rate injuries are piling up at this point.
Yeah. Jay Silva says we should have kept Tyler Anderson. Matt, we could probably go get Tyler Anderson. I would imagine is currently available if you're willing to take on even 75% of his contract, right?
Yeah, maybe the Angels would be interested in a Syndergaard for Tyler Anderson trade.
Mark L wants to know if Scott will join. I bet he's in a good mood right now. Scotty, if you're still listening, brother, you can hop on with us and give us your Alex Vesia take if you're interested. Let's see. We'll try and get to one more question. Let's see. Mark says I sound worried. I mean,
let's get as you're looking for one or two. Let's get some lighthearted stuff too. It's been a rough night for everybody, so let's end on something a little more.
Here we
upbeat.
go. Dong says summer's in 6 days. Look, brother, summer is here officially. My kids are out of school on 4 days ago, so summer is here. Best go-to summer fruit. I've got a pizza question for you after this. So
okay, for this is easier. I love watermelon.
Okay,
so I could eat it every day.
Summer fruit. I'm trying to. I mean, I love pineapple. You give me a cold pineapple.
Qualifies.
Yeah, it's great. I had a food thing to end this on a light note. I had pizza for lunch, Matt, and then I had a different pizza for dinner. I was at two different places at events, and so one place had pizza and the other place had pizza, two different places. So give me like non-sit down. I mean, I guess it's just pizza. Like, I'm not counting like the CPK level type pizzas. Like, if you want to include round table type places in this discussion, that's fine. But give me like 2 or 3 of your go-to, like you're just ordering pizza on a Friday or Saturday night. Not a slice, like a whole pizza. I almost said pie, but it would have felt inauthentic coming out of my mouth. So give me your options here.
Yeah, they're probably not gonna be popular. I'm pretty. I think Domino's.
We all knew they weren't gonna be popular.
I think Domino's is fine. I feel like they get a bad rap. I like
Domino's
their
Top
Parmesan bread bites too. So that's part of it. Like for me, like it's not just the pizza. Like I get the pizza and the bread bites, and so that ends up being the
crust is elite. The crust, we got the garlic thing going on in the crust. Domino's is elite. I'm with you on Domino's.
Sometimes I have to be in the mood for it, but like Pizza Hut will be okay.
Love Pizza Hut. You can get the thick crust, the little pan pizza from Pizza Hut. Another great option, Moreno.
I see a Pizza Mania reference from Whittier, that's where I grew up. I'm not. It's okay. I think Pizza Mania is overpriced. Is my biggest complaint. So let's see. My third one, Pizza Press has a really good, like you could do like a spicy red sauce pizza, but the location closest to me does not make it as good as the location where I used to live that was closer, like different cities. And so I've kind of soured on that.
Yeah.
So I mean,
you're a Costco pizza guy?
It's okay. I think it's overrated.
Yeah. What about Papa John's?
Papa John's, I like their kind of like they had a good white pizza for a little. I don't know if they still have it, but like maybe 6 months ago they introduced a white one that I thought was pretty good. So like for a specialty type, I'll go to Papa John's.
Okay, last question is, have you ever done like take and bake?
From
like Papa Murphy's or something like that? I don't know if that's a big deal or if you've heard of Papa Murphy's.
No,
but like the type of places where they make the pizza, but you got to go home and throw it in your oven. I was unfamiliar with this in Southern California, and then I moved to Oregon, and that's like the thing up here.
No, it's not. That's not too popular here, but I mean, I've done like a frozen like DiGiorno pizza. Which we're not
like, talking. We're not talking DiGiorno. Hard pass on DiGiorno pizza for me. This is like nothing's frozen. It's basically just before they're about to throw it in their own oven, you take it home and cook it in your own. So Papa Murphy's is good, but I'm with you. I would say Domino's and Pizza Hut are both in the top. One of my greatest parenting accomplishments is convincing my 2 daughters, the 2 oldest, the third one will eat anything, but they love pizza, like elite food in their minds. And they think Costco pizza is the greatest pizza in the world. And I'm like, and you know what? I can feed you for 3 days for $9.95. So it is the greatest idea. And again, CPK, like if we're talking a little bit specialty, I love CPK. Barbecue chicken pizza from CPK, barbecue chicken salad from CPK.
You and Blake aligning again.
I know. It's true. And here you and I are aligning, which is what the world needs after the game we just watched. So we'll end it there. We appreciate everybody joining us here. Again, not necessarily a fun game. Emmet Sheehan, incredible debut. Happy for him. The Dodgers lose 2 starters, Peralta and Taylor, to injury. To be determined how long they're out. Both are undergoing scanning and testing. It sounds like I'm reading between the tea leaves that I think both guys are going to miss some time. So something to keep an eye on there. We had Mookie Betts making 2 of the worst decisions I've ever seen him make as a Dodger, both on the bases, both in absolutely critical moments. You have Dave Roberts putting Austin Barnes in for the biggest at bat of the game. And we'll just leave it at that. After letting JD Martinez stay in and run at second base, a decision that ended up turning around, not turning out to matter, I should say. So we appreciate you for sticking around. Thank you to those on YouTube. Thank you to those on Facebook. Thank you to those listening after the fact on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We greatly appreciate all of you. Check out, if you're not on the YouTube page right now, go to youtube.com/DodgerBlue1958. We'll throw it in the chat because tons of post-game content, all those quotes from Dave Roberts, the quotes from Mookie Betts, all will be up on our channel. Our guy Blake Williams is at the game getting that stuff for us. So we appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy your weekend. And of course, as always, Matt and I will be back Sunday night, hopefully breaking down 2 Dodgers wins, another Bobby Miller dominant performance, and whatever the Dodgers decide to do with Tony Gonsolin, and if the bullpen is still alive on Sunday. So join Matt and I on Sunday night for that one. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of your night. And as always, go Dodgers.